You didn't expect it. You weren't searching for it. And yet, the moment your eyes met, something shifted. It wasn't lust. It wasn't infatuation. It was recognition, like meeting a piece of yourself that had been missing all along. And the shock wasn't that you felt it. The real shock was that he felt it too. But he's married. He has a life, a routine, someone who sleeps next to him every night. Yet there's a silence in him, a space untouched. And somehow, you touched it, not with your body, but with your presence, with your energy, with the way you looked at him like he was still alive inside, not just functioning. This is not a love story, not in the traditional sense. It's something deeper, something unspoken, and for many women, something unbearable. Because when a married man feels a soul connection with you, the world doesn't see what you feel. They see betrayal, they see weakness, they see sin. But what they don't see is how uninvited it all was, how none of it was planned, how you tried to ignore it, how you tried to walk away. Carl Jung said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But what happens when one of those personalities is bound by vows, by family, by the life he built before you came into view? You're left in a strange space, one foot in truth, the other in guilt. You can't talk about it, you can't claim it, and yet, you can't unfeel it. The way his eyes soften when you speak, the silence between you that says more than words, the way your chest tightens when you sense him near, even in a crowded room. The soul doesn't care about legal contracts. It doesn't respect timing. It only knows resonance. And when it finds it, it responds. That's what this is. A response. A spark you didn't ask for. A connection he never speaks of, but always shows. It's in the pause before he answers. In the way his voice drops when you're alone. In how he listens differently. Like he's hearing someone speak his language for the first time in years. This isn't about right or wrong. This is about what happens when someone sees your soul, and doesn't run when someone reaches you where even you forgot how to reach yourself. And yet, he can't be yours. At least not now. Maybe never. So what do you do with that? Do you suppress it? Do you fight it? Do you wait? Or do you go deeper into yourself and ask the real question? Why did this connection come into my life? Because here's the truth. Most people won't say out loud. Sometimes, the most powerful relationships are the ones that don't unfold. Sometimes, their purpose is not to complete your story, but to wake you up inside it, to reflect back the parts of you that were asleep, to show you that you're still capable of feeling, of burning, of being moved without being touched. That's what he did. He stirred something in you, and maybe you stirred something in him too, but he won't talk about it, because if he does, everything breaks. And that's what makes this connection so haunting. It's real, but it's hidden, alive, but silent. The married man doesn't always act, but he feels, and if you're sensitive, you know it. You see it in his hesitation, in his avoidance, in the way he says your name like it means more than it should. But you also see the war inside him, because he didn't choose you, he didn't plan for you. You're not part of the picture he painted for his life. But there you are, a vivid color on a canvas already full, and no matter how much he tries to look away, you're there, pressing against his soul like a memory he can't delete. And you feel it too. You feel his energy when he's not around. You sense him pulling back, not because he doesn't feel it, but because he does. Too much. You hear his silence, and it's louder than words. This isn't obsession. This isn't fantasy. This is a real, living, breathing connection caught in the wrong time and space. And it hurts. Not because it's wrong, but because it can't unfold the way you want. So you stand at the edge of something that feels like home, but has no door. You ache, not just for him, but for the part of yourself that awoke in his presence. Because that's what this really is about. Not him, you, who you became when your soul was finally seen. And now the question isn't, does he feel it? You already know he does. The question is, what do I do with what I now feel? Do I shrink? Do I chase? Or do I rise into the woman this connection awakened? That's where your power lives. Not in what he says. But in what you now know. You are not here to be a secret. You are not here to be someone's escape. You are here to be fully seen, fully chosen, fully met. And if this connection was the spark that reminded you of that, then it wasn't a mistake, it was a mirror. And what you do with that mirror, from this moment on, changes everything. So many women try to rationalize this away, They tell themselves it was just a phase, a moment, a trick of the heart. But deep down, you know better. The connection may not have been physical, but it was undeniably real. And what makes it so hard is that no one validates it. Not your friends, not society, not even him. Especially not him. He might pretend it never happened. He might pull away to protect what he's built. He might act like you were just a conversation, a flicker in his day. But his energy betrays him. You've seen it. You felt it. And that feeling doesn't lie. The hardest part is knowing that it awakened something in you, but left no clear path forward. You were shown something sacred, and then asked to unsee it. But you can't, because it changed you. It made you question everything. What love really means. What connection is supposed to feel like. Why someone you can't touch can make you feel more alive than someone who's always beside you. And perhaps the most painful question of all, why did the universe allow you to meet him in the first place? Some say these connections are tests. Others say they're karmic contracts, written long before this life began. Maybe that's true. But one thing is certain. It's not random. The timing, the intensity, the impossibility, none of it is accidental. Because some souls are meant to collide. Not to stay, but to stir. To unearth the parts of you that were buried. To break open the cage you built around your own heart. And, in doing so, they leave you with a choice. You can close up again. Pretend it meant nothing. Go back to sleep. Or you can rise. Use the pain as fuel. Use the clarity as fire. Use the ache as proof that you are still fully, deeply alive. Because sometimes the soul connection isn't here to be fulfilled. It's here to be felt. To awaken. To heal. To redirect. And if that's what he was for you, a divine interruption, then let it be sacred. Let it be something you carry, not with regret, but with reverence. Not because he was perfect, but because he reminded you that your soul still speaks. And now, you're finally ready to listen. There is a quiet strength in understanding your soul before trying to understand someone else's. That's why I recommend the Jung Method, a gentle guide to help you reconnect with your intuition and emotional clarity. You'll find the link pinned in the first comment. Now let's return to the place where your story shifted. When a married man feels a soul connection with you, something sacred is stirred, but nothing is guaranteed. This isn't a fairy tale. It's not the story where everything fits, where the ending is written for you. It's the story where everything real happens beneath the surface, where emotions echo louder than words, and where decisions must come from a place far deeper than desire. Because what you felt wasn't just attraction. It was awakening. Maybe he felt it too. But here's the truth most never say. Just because someone feels you deeply doesn't mean they're ready for what that feeling demands. He might sense your soul. He might feel your energy like gravity. But that doesn't mean he has the courage to choose it. Sometimes, men recognize truth and still walk away. Not because they don't care, but because they're not ready to break open the life they've built. Even if it's empty, even if it's silent. You can feel chosen in spirit and rejected in action, and that is where the wound deepens. You start to question what's real. If the eye contact meant anything, if the way he stood still near you was your imagination, if the long pauses in conversation were just polite silence or something more. But the soul knows. The body doesn't lie, and neither does the ache that lingers when he leaves the room. This is the pain of being met but not received, of being known but not claimed. Of being the connection he feels and fears all at once. So what do you do with that? You stop translating his silence into self-doubt. You stop turning his hesitation into your heartbreak. And you begin the most sacred work of all, separating. You're awakening from his inaction. Because maybe his purpose was never to stay. Maybe it was only to wake you, to show you what it feels like to be seen without pretense, without performance, without needing to explain your worth. And once you feel that, you can't go back to the version of yourself who was asleep. You now know what connection feels like. You now know what resonance sounds like. And even if it never becomes more, even if he remains behind his walls, you've been marked by something true. That's the beginning of transformation. But it only becomes healing when you make a choice to honor what the connection revealed, not about him, but about you. Because when a woman is cracked open by a soul connection, she sees herself more clearly. She realizes how much she's been shrinking, how often she's been settling, how deeply she's craved to be mirrored in spirit. And that's not something you beg for, it's something you become. You become the space that holds your truth. no longer needing someone to validate it. You become the clarity you once searched, for in his eyes, you become the answer to the question that his presence brought to the surface. And here's where it gets powerful. Once you detach the beauty of the connection from the expectation of outcome, you reclaim your emotional sovereignty. You stop needing him to call. You stop hoping he'll leave. You stop waiting for a timeline that was never yours to begin with. Instead, you walk forward holding the knowing, the stillness, the remembrance of what your soul experienced, and it changes the way you live. It changes the way you choose. You no longer accept lukewarm attention. You no longer tolerate relationships without presence. You no longer beg to be heard when your energy already speaks volumes. You become the woman who no longer needs proof, because she's already met herself through him, and that meeting is irreversible. But let's also honor the ache, because there is grief. In this kind of love, the grief of possibilities that never unfolded, the grief of having to say goodbye without ever saying it out loud, the grief of knowing someone carries you in his heart, but will never hold you in his hands. And you're allowed to feel that. You're allowed to cry not for the man, but for the version of you that once thought love had to end. In possession to be real, because now you know better. You know that sometimes the soul is touched and then released. Not because it was wrong, but because it was complete. Not every connection is a path. Some are portals. They open you, they change your frequency, and then they fade. Not in meaning, but in form. That's what this WASA portal, a reminder, a quiet revolution inside you. And if you treat it as sacred, it won't break you. It will build you. You'll begin to live with more presence. You'll start choosing with more honesty. You'll love, not with desperation, but with clarity, because now you've tasted the real thing. And you don't settle once you've been seen. Maybe one day he'll admit it, maybe not, but you won't be waiting, because you're already moving. You're already healing. You're already becoming the woman who no longer needs to be chosen, because she chose herself the moment she let the connection shape her, but not define her. That's your power. Now to carry what was real, to bless it, to thank it, and to release it without resentment. This is how you stay whole. This is how you honor your soul. This is how you transform pain into wisdom. You stop asking why he felt it and did nothing, and you start asking what it awakened that you can now carry forward, because that's the gift. It wasn't him, it was what he touched in you, and now it's yours to keep. And still, there will be days when the memory returns, not like a storm, but like a shadow, quiet, soft, familiar, a scent that reminds you of his presence, a song that opens something you thought was closed, a silence that echoes with a moment you once shared. That's not weakness, that's the cost of depth. When your soul has been moved, it remembers, not out of obsession, but out of reverence, because some people don't pass through your life, they pass through your soul, and the imprint they leave is not erased when they leave the room. But don't confuse remembering with longing. You're not going backward, you're not reaching for him, you're standing taller in the space where he once awakened you. You're learning how to hold memory without pain, how to bless what happened without needing more, how to feel the echo without losing your voice inside it. This is sacred, emotional maturity. This is the evolution that follows awakening, because one day, you'll meet someone who doesn't just see your soul and run. He'll stay, he'll match your depth, he'll speak the truth instead of hiding behind circumstances, and you'll recognize him because of what you once felt with the one who couldn't. That's the beauty of soul connections. Even when they don't last, they prepare you for what will. So don't curse the moment it all began. Honor it, because it brought you home to yourself. And now, you walk forward, not waiting, not hoping, but knowing. You were never meant to be forgotten. You were meant to remember who you are, and now you do.